Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Frank Granito in studio on Wednesday, January 31st, last day of the month, alongside Kevin Coleman. Plenty to catch up on, including our game of the week last night. What a thriller it was in a rematch of last year's FCIAC championship game. The Warriors handing Ridgefield their first conference loss of the season, Kev. It was a treat for us to be there and get to see it.
It was a lot of fun at the Z. First time beginning of the season, looking forward to it. For the last couple of weeks, really just counting down the days for this Ridgefield-Wilton rematch of the FCIAC final from last March. And you got to give Wilton a lot of credit. You got to give the crowd a lot of credit too. Everyone came into the Z, adjusting to the time change to tip off at 5:15. Thought the student sections on both sides were great. Good atmosphere, even better basketball game, even from the Wilton side. A little bit of a slow start in that first quarter. But then that second quarter I thought was so important for Wilton to come back, take that lead. And the question was for me, how are they going to respond out of the halftime? And they played even better than they did in the first half. And we got to talk about Antonio Brancato. And quickly, just want to give a shout out to the tribe. Here you go. It's the Warriors right there for you.
He's from the town of Ridgefield. How is no one up in arms over this? This would literally be like me putting on a Darien football helmet every day.
See,
he's from the town of Ridgefield.
Where I'm from is from literally.
Where did you go to high school?
I can't say.
Exactly. All right, I'm glad you mentioned Antonio.
Got to give a shout out to Coach Garriak, though. Good job last night.
How am I the only one? This is nuts. You talk about Antonio Brancato, and our director Mike Suppy and I have been talking all day about it. It was without a doubt one of the better high school performances we've seen in a basketball game in a while. Doesn't get the start, comes off the bench. The kid goes for 33. That includes not playing for at least 6.5 minutes of that second quarter after he got into foul trouble. Comes back in the third quarter, has an absolute, picks up right where he left off. Couple of threes, couple and one opportunities. Goes for 14 in the fourth quarter, 11 of which came from the free throw line. He did it in every aspect of the game last night, and this was the player Wilton had in mind when they heard he was transferring, and they were like, wow, this makes us that much better. This was the reason last night why.
You're right. And you look back, we mentioned on the broadcast last night, a couple weeks ago, when you saw Antonio make his return to Fairfield Ward High School against the Mustangs, a really off night in general just for the Wilton Warriors. And you could tell that Antonio was rattled a little bit. Obviously, it was an emotional return for him. And I thought last night for him, personally, as a player and for his confidence, was so big, not only for him, but for the rest of the Wilton Warriors team, to come out and score 33 points in your first real taste of the Ridgefield-Wilton rivalry at home in front of your fans. I thought it was so important for him, and he showed up big. In that fourth quarter, he really just took over. He brought the ball up. It was really pretty much just isolation at that point. Guys were setting picks, and he was going to the rack, getting to the line, and his foul shooting was tremendous, I thought, especially in the second half.
Obviously, you had Scott Cunningham going for 24 points in this game. He played extremely well on the Wilton side, but I thought James St. Pierre was the second best player in this game. Not far off from being the best player. Did a really good job offensively, converting with both hands. You could see him use the left and the right in the lane. He expanded his range, connected from outside the arc, but what stood out for me, he was tasked with coming over to cover Cunningham after he started to heat up. Then late in the game, he was tasked with having to guard Brancato. He's their top defensive option as well. He played a very, very good game. Not the reason the Tigers suffered their first conference loss.
No, and St. Pierre, we can just touch upon it for the rest of the season, how he's gotten so much better. He had a great sophomore season, added some great minutes last year for the Tigers. But I thought what he improved on the most this offseason was his shooting ability and getting to the hoop and he added a lot more to his game. He's not afraid now. He's building confidence, and he can drive to the hoop with confidence now that he's going to go and score or either get to the line. And you saw last night, he even dished out a couple of nice assists. His defensively on the defensive side of the ball, I thought he made some nice steals as well. James St. Pierre in general has just stepped up his game from a year ago. It's been a tremendous to watch. Just the transformation he's made in just one offseason. Looking forward to seeing how he does the rest of the season. He's going to be a guy that Tigers are going to have to rely on, but he's still got another season to go of this program. So James St. Pierre, you think he's good now? I think he's going to get even better too.
73-67, the final from the Z. Let's take a look back at the Warriors win. St. Pierre in the corner for three. Yes! Rebound poked out, and collecting that one is Kyle Phillips.
Having Colin Phillips on the floor. Ooh, big three.
Woo! Scott Cunningham.
Now Richfield's got to move it up.
McNamara for St. Pierre. His reverse.
Oh, what a pretty, pretty move there.
Cunningham, step back, three. Yes.
Ooh. Woo. Cunningham. Here we go. Some fouls here.
Oh, instead it's stripped away by Cunningham. Now he's got the rebound. For Matala. Inside out, gets the lay-in to go. What a turn of events.
Yeah, he's got to focus on getting to the charity stripe if he can.
Cronenberg not going to miss this time, and it's his first basket of the night. Triple from the corner. Steal by Cunningham. He's off to the races. Gets the lay-in and a quick 4-0 run. Puts a little cushion back in the Warriors' lead.
More like
three-pointer rattles home. How good has St. Pierre been?
Gets the visitors' bounce.
Brancato inside. He answers at the other end. Off the mark. Quickly up ahead. Nakel for Price. Three-pointer. No good as the clock strikes 0 and the Tribe storm the court. A huge win for the Warriors. Pole vaults them back into the top 8 in the playoff mix right now. Richfield's still sitting atop the conference at 1 loss. I don't think we're that concerned about Richfield. They're going to be in the FCX tournament without a doubt. The one thing that maybe stood out to me from last night was Brendan McNamara exposed a little bit by the Warriors defense.
Well, listen, I think this goes for the rest of the teams here when they play Richfield, even in the playoffs. If you bully him down a little bit, put some body on him, make him uncomfortable in the post, you're going to disrupt his game because, yes, he can score in all different types of ways. He has a great jump shot. He can score all different types of ways. He's able to drive to the hoop. But if you kind of put a body on him a little bit, that disrupts him. I think he becomes a little uncomfortable. And last night we saw that a little bit. Now for Brendan McNamara, I think moving forward, just continue to play tough. I think he's still a good player, but I think if he continues to be bullied down low, that's going to be a big issue because he's a guy the Tigers are going to heavily rely on.
He was almost exposed to, he was defensively as well at the end of the game. He switched over, or Brancato got the switch late, and McNamara was tasked then with guarding Brancato, and he just toyed with him. Brendan obviously mismatched against the smaller, quicker guard. Brancato getting to the rack with ease late, got into the lane, drew a foul. So a lot of people talking about Brendan McNamara as one of those top players in the conference, really in the hunt with Sean Conway for Player of the Year type candidate. This is a game he needs to forget about quickly and get back to doing what he does. If he does not play with the confidence we've seen him play with, it could be trouble for Richfield moving forward.
I think it could be too, and at the same time, I think a loss like this is good for the Tigers. You know, you learn, okay, this is what it feels like to lose a game. Now you move on, you move forward, you finish out the regular season strong, go into the playoffs with momentum, and this is a Tigers team that I think they've been tested, especially not this, especially this season, but last season, a lot of players return on this roster. They were tested all season long, especially in the playoffs. How many comeback wins did they have? And this is a Tigers team that I think is capable, even if they are down in the playoffs, are still capable of finding ways to win. That just speaks to the coaching staff. Coach McClellan has done a terrific job retooling this roster this year, considering what he lost due to graduation. I think Coach McClellan has done a great job, the entire coaching staff. Tigers don't need to panic just yet, but moving forward, they have to be careful because we know that there's an X on their back right now.
He has Tiger stuff hanging at his desk. Like, how am I the only one? For Wilton, what we saw last night, it really sums up this team. All right, we've seen them twice this year now. Once against Ward, where they shot horribly, and now against Ridgefield, where they played extremely well. They were efficient with their opportunities, shot the lights out from behind the three-point line. It's just a matter of which Warriors team is going to show up when you get to the postseason. We've got to take a break here on Nutmeg Sports. When we get back, we'll dive a little deeper into what the playoff race looks like at the moment, catch you up on the rest of last night's games, and of course, we'll get you ready for some big action going on the ice tonight. I got a feeling he's going to be rooting for the Orange team again pretty soon when we get back on Nutmeg Sports.
Voted best gourmet to go in Fairfield County, Palmer's extensive menu offers everything you'll need to make your next event easy and delicious. Whether you're hosting a small get-together or planning a large celebration, they've got you covered breakfast through dessert. Order online at palmersdarien.com or call 203-655-2077.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac, I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Dr. Stephen Molinaro and Peter Healy of Family Practice Dentistry and Laser Dental Care have served Ridgefield for over 22 years. Experienced staff offer gentle drillless techniques, preventative care, and cosmetic procedures in a relaxed environment. Grateful for the community's trust and support through the years, new patients and their families are welcome. Call today.
Voted best gourmet.
Back on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Couple other big games in the conference last night. Let's start, Kev, down at Stanford High. The Black Knights hosting the Danbury Hatters, and number 2 in the conference taking a scare as well. Hatters needing an extra period to take care of Stanford before getting the win 67-65. All right, 1. For Danbury, that's a tough game, obviously going to Stanford. It's a good Stanford team. I think they're underrated. They're lingering right around that bottom of the conference 8 spot right now. But you know what? If you don't have Jordan Brown and Denali Burton going at the same time, Danbury can be exposed a little bit.
They can. They can. And we mentioned it last night on the broadcast, but look at it this way. For Wilton, they have to travel to Stanford. Their second to last game of the regular season. Not saying that they're going to lose, but that's a trap game. Plain and simple. Stanford is a team at home. They're not easy to play against. So Wilton has to keep an eye on Stanford, and this is a great effort by the Black Knights, taking the Hatters to overtime. A big win for the Hatters, just able to escape with the 2-point victory, 67-65. Jordan Brown continues. I think since the new year started, Jordan Brown has become a totally different player, certainly an all-conference player in my mind. He's been playing great as of late, so if they can continue to kind of continue this ride of momentum here and Jordan Brown continues to play well, they get Denali Burton back, this is another team that's going to be scary in the playoffs.
You've got 3 teams right now currently tied for 7th and 8th in the conference with Central, Stanford, and Wilton all sitting at 6 and 3. Central and Wilton will play against each other from the Z tomorrow night. That's a huge game, obviously, on the calendar. Stanford, for the Knights, next up, they are going to be taking on, let me find it here, Norwalk on Friday. That's another big game, Kevin. Norwalk obviously sitting just a game ahead of both of these teams, or of all 3 of these teams now at 7 and 2. So it gets very tight in the standings. And all of these teams have got to start to pick away at each other. Greenwich falls in line next at 4 and 6. I don't see the Cardinals catching anyone in the conference. I think there is a divide at that point in time. But right now, here are your bottom 5 teams. Trumbull, Norwalk, Central, Stanford, and Wilton. 3 are in, 2 are out. Who are the 2 that you have on the outside looking in?
Oh, man, that's Man, that's tough.
That's why it's a good question.
That's a great question. So you're talking Central, Stanford, Wilton?
And then Norwalk and Trumbull as well. Those are all the teams with 2 losses and 3 losses.
I see.
So you've got 3 of those teams are going to make up 5 spots.
Oh, man, this is tough. I like Trumbull getting in. I'm picking Trumbull to get in. Wilton's in. My last 2. I think I gotta go with Norwalk and Stanford on the outside looking in. I'm sorry, Tommy Keys, but I think I have Norwalk and Stanford on the outside looking in.
I think Central actually ends up finishing in 9th.
You do?
And
okay. I like Central getting in.
I think that they're going to end up just missing out. I don't think Trumbull is going to sneak in.
Okay.
I think Trumbull might slip out. Due
to inexperience?
I just think, yeah. And I think they've got a very, very tough second half of the schedule. Mm-hmm. I think Trumbull at the moment trending down. And it's just because you've got a couple of those games they've sleptwalked through. They've had some poor showings of late. I think now you're really going to see the growing pains of Trumbull come out. And there's not a bad thing about that.
Nope.
This is still a very young team. You know, you're going to be building for the future, obviously. But I think Trumbull could be the odd man out in this situation here.
No, I don't disagree with you. I think that's a fair pick. I do like Central, though, this year. I think they've had a great season. Big game tomorrow night against Wilton. I want to see how they perform against the Warriors on the road at the Z. I like Central getting in. They're a good story. I want to see Central get in. I think a city team like that, to get them back in the tournament, I think that's big for FCIAC boys basketball. I want to see the Hilltoppers make it.
Other games around the conference last night, Ward taking care of Darien 68-60. Darien, before the end of the year, is going to cost someone big. They are going to pick someone off. They're playing really, really well, strong defensively, and Justin Jordan continuing to just excel in this conference. After 33 against Ridgefield, comes back with 22 against the Mustangs.
Listen, Justin Jordan, we saw him against Greenwich maybe a month ago now at Darien. This kid continues to light it up on the court, and terrific athlete to begin with. You know, we know how good he is, not just on the basketball court, but Justin Jordan continues to light it up. And 33 against Ridgefield, 22 now against Ward. This kid has to be. I want him to be an all-conference player this year. He's deserved it. I think he's done a terrific job throughout the season. I know the record doesn't show it, but this kid continues to be an all-conference player in my mind.
Well, maybe they'll adopt the soccer philosophy and half the league will be all-conference. You never know. That'd be great for everyone, wouldn't it? Trumbull beats Greenwich 58-44. I think that's the nail in Greenwich's coffin, even this early. Yep. Trinity over McMahon. Contavio going for 35. Dimitri going for 24. The bigs for Coach Walsh right now. If they're on, if they're in sync, I don't know there's a team really that can handle them in this conference. That's just, you know, when they're on their game, they're the best team in this league, in my opinion, on any given night. Norwalk struggling at New Canaan. That's an interesting one. Yeah. They win 46-44. It could be a wake-up call for the Bears. They've really got to appreciate now where they are in this playoff race, that they're not good enough to underestimate any opponent. They've got to show up with their A game every night down the stretch, or they are going to be on the outside looking in. I
agree. I think Coach Keys, obviously we know how serious and how much, you know, how intense he is as a head coach, and he's going to definitely, you know, reiterate to his players that was a wake-up call last night. Only scoring 46 too. Got to give New Canaan a lot of credit. They did good defensively, especially on the glass. Norwalk just escaping with the win, just like Danbury did against Stanford. So those are two teams that I think are going to sit there at practice today and say, wow, you know, we could have been on the losing side last night. But that's a wake-up call, especially right now as we approach the final month of the regular season.
And this one, for me, just crazy. Bassick takes care of St. Joseph. No surprise there this season. But the fact that we're at a point in time right now, St. Joe's is 0-13 on the season. Is crazy to me. You're talking about a private school who's had success for so long. You know, they were always a strong recruiter, able to bring in top talent. And the fact that they are 0-13, literally dead last in the conference in the state this year, it's a little crazy to me and sad to see, because they're another one of those programs you would like to have in the mix that makes the FCIAC tournament that much more interesting.
It's disappointing, it's what it is, and you know, you want to see St. Joe's be there. I remember playing, you know, when St. Joe's was a powerhouse. All the city teams were a powerhouse.
Where did you play? I didn't know you were a player. Where'd you play?
Central was there. All the city teams were there. Stanford was there. A lot of talented teams, and St. Joe's was always a team that was tough to play against, especially at St. Joe's. That was a very tough gym to play in, and for them to be 0-13, it's disappointing. I want to see St. Joe's be back, just like I want to see Central in the FCAC tournament. So all these teams that were so good throughout the 2000s, it's amazing that right now they're struggling a little bit. So you want to see the cadets, look moving forward now after this season, try and do a little better, and hopefully that record improves next year.
You want to talk about amazing? We're going to talk about the run that the Lady Falcons of Ludlow are on when we get back. More Nutmeg Sports after this.
While there's still a bite out on the water, most anglers have decided to stow the gear for the winter. Just because Mother Nature isn't cooperating doesn't mean you can't see the latest models of all your favorite gear. With 2 convenient locations, it couldn't be easier to get your fix of summer. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
At Budget Blinds, we're in business to frame the light, the day, and the night. So we give you an exclusive combination of high style, expert service, our no surprises pricing, and our no questions asked warranty. We believe that everyone, at every budget, deserves style and service. Isn't that a beautiful place to be?
Get a fresh start to the new year by shaking up your meal routine. Walter Stewart's Market is your local source for a delicious selection of fresh and convenient salad shakers, like Southwest salad with chicken, Cobb with organic chicken, Power Vegan with fruit and quinoa, Greek salad with tabbouleh, and grilled shrimp with hominy. Grab one from our salad case or order from our deli today. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
Back on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network, Frank Granito alongside Kevin Coleman on Wednesday, January 31st, taking a look at girls hoops now. Kev, if you're on the FCAC homepage, they've got, or excuse me, on the standings page for girls basketball, they've got the updated playoff race. They put the top 10 teams in there. The Ludlow Falcons, baby, into the top 10. 4th consecutive win yesterday. They are 6-3 since starting 1-5, or 6-2, excuse me, since starting 1-5 this year. Big things happening for Ludlow. I'm telling you, Kev, they're getting into the 8th spot, but only if they can handle Darien tomorrow. That is a huge game. Yeah. Big game in girls basketball there. Darien currently sitting in 8th, Ludlow half a game behind. This is going to be a big one for both these teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle considering Darien coming off that big win against Richfield last Friday. I think Chrissy Fiore is playing out of her mind right now, playing great basketball. Her and Katie Ramsey, just the 1-2 punch. The two of them, just terrific athletes, terrific basketball players, racking up big points every night. So the Darien Blue Wave are going to be a tough opponent, but for the Ludlow Falcons, continuing to ride a great momentum here. Bridget Palmer continues to play well. This is just a well-coached team, disciplined, good defensively, good on the boards as well. So the Falcons, listen, that's a good pick. Falcons getting into that 8th spot is a strong pick. Tomorrow night we're going to learn a lot about if the Falcons can win. Certainly that 8th spot's theirs, or even better seed is theirs.
They do trail Danbury as well, who holds the tiebreaker over them. So the Falcons would need another Danbury loss realistically. I'm probably way too invested into the Falcons at this point, but I've got them getting in, Kevin.
That's a good pick.
It's going to happen. You have volunteered. You said you will make a Falcon noise at the start
I have
of the
not.
show. Kevin will make a Falcon noise at the start of our playoff preview show.
Can I get a megaphone to do that?
No. We'll see.
Okay.
I won't rule it out.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Keep in mind, though, Danbury does have Norwalk remaining. You got Trinity Catholic Central, Greenwich there. So it's going to be a very, very exciting finish to the year. Coach K is doing an awesome job there up at Ludlow, so keep up the good work. We'll keep an eye on all that. Girls basketball, though, I mean, all roads lead through Trumbull right now. We're going to see the Eagles and Norwalk up at the Black Hole in a couple of weeks. I'm hoping both teams stay on this collision course for first place for that game. It'll be our first look at both teams. You've got a lot of depth and a lot of athleticism on display in that matchup.
You do, and I think Norwalk is kind of enjoying the fact that they're not talked about that much. And Norwalk's a very talented team, and we've seen Staples now twice this season. I really like what the Wreckers are doing on the basketball court. The fact that Norwalk beat them shows that the Bears are here to play. This is a talented team. Trumbull, we still know how good they are. Looking forward to that game. You're right. I want to see these two teams still have one loss when they meet each other, hopefully to secure that first place spot in the regular season. But that's going to be a great matchup. Two athletic teams who can really run up and down the floor. Good defensively, both teams defensively sound. So it's going to be a fun matchup between the Eagles and the Bears.
Big matchup tonight in boys hockey at the Winter Garden down in Ridgefield. You've got the Tigers hosting New Canaan in a rematch of the FCI Championship. Here is why this matchup is so big right now, Kevin. All right, you look at the FCI standings. Staples still undefeated in conference with 10 points. They lead all teams. Darien second with 9. Then you've got Greenwich with 8. St. Joe's with 6 would be the 5th team at the moment. 6 teams make the tournament, right?
Right.
Fairfield, Norwalk, and New Canaan all sit behind there with 4. This is a Rams team coming off a tough loss against Fairfield, who now holds the tiebreaker. And it's a New Canaan team that this is an identity moment. What kind of a team do they want to be? First-year head coach Clark Jones has done a very good job, I think, in getting a lot out of a little.
Yeah.
With so many young players on this roster. But they continue to get in their own way. Untimely penalties, lack of effort at times, and it's disappointing from a team that is not as talented as they might think they are. I'm telling you right now, I am high on the Tigers tonight. I think the Rams struggle big on the road, where they're already 2-5 this season. The schedule will get a little more favorable for them down the stretch, but really, they have got to piece this together, and Ridgefield, quite frankly, could embarrass them tonight if they don't show up to play.
I don't think it's going to be an embarrassment. I definitely don't think that. If Richfield puts up a couple goals in the first period, then you could chalk it up as a Richfield win, because we've seen a couple teams really get up on the Rams early on, and it just doesn't feel like the Rams almost feel like they're already defeated before they even go into the dressing room. So for the Rams, I want to see them play tough in that first couple minutes there in the first period. We know how good Sean Gordon's is. He's terrific goaltender for the Richfield Tigers. Dylan Shane has been a great story for the Rams. For the Tigers, they continue to play well, considering they lost so much from that roster last year, that great team that went 24-2, state title, FCI championship. This is a rematch. I just realized it's a rematch of the FCI championship from last year, but New Canaan has lost a lot too. And this is a little bit of an inexperienced team where I think you're right. They do lack confidence, and they have a lot of talent on this roster. Quinn McMahon, I think he's a terrific hockey player, but I just think he lacks confidence sometimes. But he's been playing well as of late. So for the Rams, they just need to skate hard and keep up with the Tigers tonight. And I think if they do, it's going to be a closer match than I think people do.
Quinn, you are a good hockey player. Good hockey player. All right, do not get ahead of yourself. You need to keep trying and try harder. It's just, it's funny. You love Ridgefield again. Now you hate Dylan Shane. I don't know where you're
I don't hate Dylan Shane. I think he's a great story. I just said that.
No. You can't keep up with you today. It's next thing you know, you're going to tell me there's a full-grown tiger in the mountains of Ridgefield.
Well, we already know that's true. But I tell you what, playing over there at the Garden.
Don't ever say that again. Take his mic down. Suppy, you will appreciate this in the back. Big matchup in wrestling today. New Canaan and Fairfield Ward, both teams with only one loss on the season. The Rams with a couple of freshmen and sophomore wrestlers who are really excelling early on in the year. I obviously think the Mustangs prevail in this match, but I think we're seeing a New Canaan team that's creeping closer and closer to placing in the top 3 at the FCX tournament. So that is... You know what? They are starting to get those football players over, and you got guys like Jack Stewart out there with a little bit of a mean streak, the Sibbett brothers as well. Well-rounded athletes. Play as many sports as you can. One is not enough. So that is what we will leave you with for today. We're always on the fence, Kevin Coleman. I'm Frank Granito. No Nutmeg Sports tomorrow. We will be at the Floyd Little Fieldhouse up in Hillhouse, the 2018 FCAC Indoor Track and Field Championship. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll all be there. Whoever wins, Kevin will be rooting for you. See you then. Thank you, Yager.